The massive crystal dome of the Galactic Council chamber sparkled under the light of three suns. Inside, thousands of alien representatives from across the galaxy sat in rising circular tiers, their voices a mix of whispers and clicks. Today was supposed to be historic. Humanity's first petition to join the Galactic Council. Ambassador James Miller stood alone at the center of the chamber. His simple black suit looked plain compared to the colorful robes and biosuits around him. He kept his back straight and head high, just as he had practiced. 20 years of space exploration had led to this moment. Humanity had finally reached the stars, made contact, and proven they could achieve faster-than-light travel. High Counselor Gray, a tall being with silvery skin and 4 arms, raised his upper limbs for silence. His large eyes, completely black like polished stones, fixed on Miller. "The Council has reviewed Earth's petition for membership," Gray's translator echoed in perfect English. "We have studied your history, your achievements, and your potential." Miller nodded, allowing himself a small smile. Earth had prepared for this day. They had sent their best scientific achievements, their greatest art, their most profound philosophical works. However, Gray continued, his tone dropping lower, "We have also seen your wars." Miller's smile disappeared. "Every species has a history of conflict," he said quickly. "We've learned from our past. Earth hasn't had a major war in 50 years. A different council member stood up, a being covered in blue scales. 50 years is nothing. We have data showing humans still argue over resources, still maintain armies, still develop weapons. For defense, Miller protested, just like every member of this council. More voices joined in. Their entertainment shows violence. They simulate warfare in games. Their children play with toy weapons. Miller felt his heart racing. This wasn't going according to plan. "Please," he said, raising his voice. "You're taking these things out of context. Humanity has grown. We're ready to join the galactic community. We can contribute so much." High Counselor Gray raised all 4 arms again, bringing silence to the chamber. "Ambassador Miller, this council has existed for 10,000 years. We maintain peace through careful selection of our members. Species must demonstrate they have moved beyond their violent origins." "We have moved beyond," Miller started, but Gray cut him off. "The Council has voted. Humanity is deemed too unpredictable, too warlike, and too quickly advancing in military technology. Your petition for membership is denied." Miller stood straighter. "We accept your decision. We'll apply again when—" "There is more," Gray interrupted. "The Council has also voted on additional measures. We cannot risk having such an unstable species freely traveling through Council space." The chamber's main screen lit up, showing Earth's solar system. Red dots appeared at its edges. "Containment barriers will be installed at the boundaries of your solar system," Gray announced. "They will prevent any human ship from leaving. This is not negotiable." Miller's diplomatic training cracked. "You can't do this. You can't imprison an entire species." "We can, and we must," Gray replied calmly. "The barriers will allow trade ships through, following strict protocols. You will not starve. You will not suffer. You will simply be contained until you prove yourselves worthy." "How long?" Miller demanded. "Until we see real change. Decades, perhaps centuries." Miller looked around the chamber, searching for any sympathetic faces. He found none. These beings, with their advanced technology and ancient civilizations, had judged humanity and found them wanting. "This meeting is concluded," Gray declared. "The barriers will be activated within 1 standard day. Ambassador Miller, you will be escorted back to Earth." As Miller walked out of the chamber, his footsteps echoing in the sudden silence, he thought about what he would tell the people of Earth. How would he explain that humanity's great dream of joining the galactic community had turned into a nightmare of imprisonment? What he didn't know, what none of the council members knew, was that they had just made a terrible mistake. They thought they were safely containing a dangerous species. Instead, they had just given humanity something they had always used to achieve their greatest advances, a challenge to overcome. As his ship headed back to Earth, Miller looked out at the stars. "They think they know us," he whispered to himself. "They have no idea what humans can do when someone tells us we can't do something." The Council had just started a countdown, though they didn't know it. In their arrogance, they had created their own worst nightmare, a humanity united against a common obstacle, driven by a desire to prove everyone wrong. The real story was just beginning. 20 years passed behind the barrier that enclosed Earth's solar system. The Galactic Council's monitoring stations reported little activity, just routine movement of cargo ships and mining vessels between planets. To the Council, it seemed humans had accepted their fate. They were wrong. Deep within the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, hidden inside a hollowed-out space rock the size of a small moon, Admiral Thomas Walker stood at the observation window of humanity's most secret facility, Project Phoenix. "Status report," he called out to the vast chamber below. His voice was rough from too many hours awake, but his eyes were sharp as they looked over the endless rows of computers and testing equipment. Dr. Anna Reed, the head scientist, walked up beside him. Her white lab coat had coffee stains, and her gray hair was messy, but her smile was bright. "We did it, sir. The quantum shield test was successful." Walker turned to face her. "Show me." They walked to the main testing chamber. Inside, behind thick safety glass, sat a small metal cube on a platform. Dr. Reed pressed some buttons on her tablet, and the cube began to glow with a soft blue light. "Watch this," she said. She pressed another button, and a powerful laser fired at the cube. But instead of hitting it, the beam simply vanished. "Where did it go?" Walker asked, leaning closer to the glass. "Nowhere. Everywhere. The shield doesn't just block attacks, it shifts them into quantum space." Reed's eyes sparkled with excitement. "The Council thinks their weapons are advanced. They're still playing with basic energy shields. We've moved beyond that." Walker nodded slowly. "And the fusion drive?" Even better news. Reed led him to another section of the facility. Here, a large engine sat in a testing chamber. "Chief Engineer Wilson, show the Admiral what we've achieved." Wilson, a tall man with dark skin and powerful arms, stood at the control panel. "Sir, this engine doesn't just push against space like traditional drives. It folds space itself." He activated the drive at low power. The air around the engine seemed to ripple like waves on a pond. At full power, it can bend space so much that we can travel faster than any Council ship. And the best part, it's completely undetectable by their sensors. Walker looked at the engine, then at the quantum shield data on nearby screens. "The Council thought they were punishing us," he said quietly. "Instead, they gave us exactly what we needed: time and motivation." He walked to a larger window, one that looked out at their greatest achievement. In the massive construction bay, lit by powerful floodlights, stood the nearly completed EDS Titan. The ship was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. 3 kilometers of black metal and advanced composites, shaped like a sword pointing to the stars. Its hull was covered in quantum shield generators, and its core held 4 of the new fusion drives. "How long until it's ready?" Walker asked. 3 months, Wilson replied. "We're installing the final systems now. The gravity weapons are already tested and operational." Dr. Reed stepped forward. "Admiral, there's something else you should see." She led them to a smaller lab. Inside was what looked like a simple metal ring, about 3 meters wide. "This is how we'll get past the barrier," she explained. "We've studied it for 20 years. It's not actually as solid as the Council thinks. It's more like a curtain. And with this device, we can part that curtain just enough for the Titan to slip through." Walker looked at the ring, then back at his team. "The Council thinks they broke us," he said. "They think we're sitting here, safely contained, learning our lesson." He laughed softly. They forgot something important about humans. "What's that, sir?" Wilson asked. "We don't like being told what we can't do. And we're really, really good at solving problems when we work together." Walker turned to face his team. 20 years ago, they called us warlike, unpredictable, dangerous. Well, they were wrong about the warlike part. We don't want a war. He smiled. But unpredictable, dangerous. They haven't seen anything yet. Through the window, the Titan's hull gleamed under the lights. Soon, very soon, the galaxy would learn what humanity had been doing during their silent years. And nothing would ever be the same. Captain Laura Stone stood in the main hangar of the EDS Titan, watching as the last crew members boarded the massive ship. Her new uniform, black with silver trim, felt stiff and formal, but it matched the importance of this moment. 1,000 crew members, the best Earth had to offer. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, and pilots, all chosen from millions of volunteers, all ready to show the galaxy what humanity could do. "Captain," a voice called from behind her. "Engineering reports all systems are ready." Stone turned to face her first officer, Commander Mark Roberts. He was holding a tablet showing the final checks. "Everything working properly?" she asked, walking with him toward the bridge. "Better than properly," Roberts smiled. "The quantum shields are at 100%. All 4 fusion drives are running perfectly. And the gravity weapons." He paused. "Well, let's just say the test results were beyond anything we expected." They entered the bridge, a large room at the heart of the ship. Unlike the cramped bridges of old space vessels, the Titan's command center was spacious and filled with advanced technology. Holographic displays showed every part of the massive ship, and windows of real crystal gave a clear view of the asteroid base around them. "All departments, report in," Stone commanded as she sat in the captain's chair. "Engineering ready. Weapons ready. Navigation ready. Medical ready. Science ready." Stone looked at the main screen, where Admiral Walker's face appeared. He was watching from the base's control room. "Captain Stone," he said, his voice serious. "You understand what's riding on this mission?" "Yes, sir," she replied. 20 years ago, they locked us in our solar system. Today, we show them that was a mistake." Walker nodded. "Remember, we're not looking for revenge. We want to show strength, not start a war. The Titan is the most powerful ship ever built, but its real purpose is to make them respect us, not fear us." "Understood, sir." Stone turned to her crew. "Start launch sequence." The ship hummed to life. Through the windows, Stone could see the asteroid base's massive doors opening, revealing the stars beyond. "Quantum shields activated," reported the defense officer. On the hull, patterns of soft blue light began to flow like rivers of energy. "Fusion drives powering up," called engineering. The ship's 4 engines started to glow, bending the space around them in ways that seemed impossible. "Gravity weapons on standby. Weapons confirmed. All systems green." Stone took a deep breath. This ship was humanity's masterpiece. 3 kilometers of the most advanced technology ever created. Its hull could absorb any attack. Its engines could bend space itself. Its weapons could control gravity, something the Council thought was impossible. "Release docking clamps," she ordered. With a series of loud clangs, the massive clamps holding the Titan in place fell away. The ship floated free, its own artificial gravity keeping everyone steady. "Take us out, nice and slow," Stone commanded. "Let's not scratch our new paint job." The Titan moved forward smoothly, its massive bulk gliding through space with impossible grace. As they cleared the asteroid base, the full beauty of space spread out before them. "Message from Admiral Walker," Roberts announced. "He says, 'Make us proud.'" Stone smiled. "Tell him we will. Set course for the barrier. It's time to show the Council what humanity has been doing during our timeout." The Titan turned toward the edge of the solar system, where the Council's barrier sparkled like a distant wall of light. Near the barrier, they could see the Council's automated defense platforms, built to keep humanity trapped in their own solar system. All hands, Stone's voice rang through the ship. This is your captain speaking. 20 years ago, the Council thought they were punishing us. They thought they were keeping us safe, keeping the galaxy safe from us. They were wrong. She stood up, looking at her crew. They didn't contain us. They challenged us. And now we're going to show them exactly what happens when you challenge humanity. Not with violence, not with war, but with innovation and determination. The Titan moved forward, its engines glowing brighter, its shields rippling with power. Ahead, the barrier waited. Behind it lay a galaxy that thought it knew all about humans. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The Council's barrier shimmered ahead of the Titan like a wall of golden light. For 20 years, this energy field had kept humanity trapped in their solar system. No human ship had ever crossed it. Until today. On the Titan's bridge, Captain Stone watched as they approached. Distance to barrier. 5,000 kilometers in closing, reported Lieutenant Adams from navigation. His fingers moved across the holographic controls, adjusting their course slightly. Commander Roberts checked the sensors. Captain, we're being scanned. Council monitoring stations have noticed us. Good. Stone smiled. Let them watch. Activate the phase drive. Dr. Reed, who had insisted on being present for this moment, stepped forward from her observation position. Remember, Captain, the ship needs to move slowly through the barrier. Too fast, and the phase effect might not work properly. Understood. Stone nodded to her crew. Take us in, 1/4 speed. The massive ship moved forward gracefully. On nearby Council monitoring stations, alarms were already blaring. Their sensors showed something impossible. A ship larger than any they had seen before, giving off energy readings that made no sense. We're receiving transmissions from the defense platforms. Communications reported. They're ordering us to stop immediately. Ignore them, Stone ordered. Shields at maximum. The Titan's hull began to glow with its characteristic blue quantum field. They were now close enough to see the automated defense platforms, angular metal structures floating in space, their weapons already turning to track the approaching ship. They're charging weapons, Roberts announced. Let them, Stone replied calmly. Everyone, brace for barrier contact in 3, 2, 1. The front of the Titan touched the golden barrier. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly, like a hand passing through water, the ship began to pass through the supposedly impenetrable field. The defense platforms opened fire. Beams of energy shot toward the Titan, only to vanish completely when they hit the quantum shields. Shields holding at 100%, reported defense. Their weapons aren't even registering as a threat. Stone watched as more of the massive ship passed through the barrier. Status of phase drive. Working perfectly, engineering called back. The barrier isn't even slowing us down. On the Council monitoring stations, the observers couldn't believe what they were seeing. The barrier had contained humanity for 2 decades, and now this mysterious ship was simply ignoring it. Their most powerful sensors couldn't even understand how the ship's shields worked. Council ships approaching, Roberts announced. 3 cruisers from the nearest patrol fleet. They'll be here in 10 minutes. Plenty of time, Stone replied. The Titan was now halfway through the barrier. Dr. Reed, I believe this would be a good time to send your little message. Reed grinned and pressed a button on her tablet. Immediately, data began streaming from the Titan to every Council ship and station in range. Detailed scans of the barrier, proving that humanity had completely understood and decoded its technology years ago. Barrier passage complete, navigation reported. The Titan emerged fully on the other side, the golden field now behind them. Council cruisers are charging weapons, Roberts warned. They're trying to surround us. Stone stood from her chair. Let's show them one more thing. Mr. Roberts, activate gravity control, minimum power. Give them a little demonstration. Roberts pressed several controls. Around the approaching Council ships, space itself seemed to thicken. Their engines flared as they tried to move forward, but they remained frozen in place, caught in the Titan's gravity field. Message from the Council ships. Communications called out. They're asking what we did to them. Send them this response, Stone said. What we did is show you that the barrier was pointless. You tried to contain humanity, to keep us safe and predictable. Instead, you gave us a puzzle to solve, a challenge to overcome. This ship is the result. She walked to the front of the bridge, looking out at the stars that had been denied to humanity for so long. Set course for Centauri Prime. It's time to pay the Council a visit. The Titan's engines powered up, and the massive ship shot forward at impossible speed, leaving behind the shocked Council ships and the now useless barrier. In monitoring stations across Council space, alarms continued to sound as sensors tracked the unknown vessel's path. Humanity was loose in the galaxy again, and this time, they were playing by their own rules. Centauri Prime, the capital world of the Galactic Council, was usually a picture of peace and order. Today was different. Alarms rang across the planet's surface as the massive form of the EDS Titan appeared in orbit. In the Council's emergency chamber, High Counselor Gray stared at the holographic display showing the human ship. His silver skin had turned almost white with shock. How big did you say it was? He asked the trembling aide. 3 kilometers long, High Counselor. And our sensors, they can't understand how it works. Outside, the Titan hung in space like a sword pointed at the heart of the Council's power. Its black hull absorbed the light from Centauri Prime's 3 suns, while patterns of blue energy danced across its surface. On the Titan's bridge, Captain Stone watched as Council ships rushed to surround them. She counted 50 warships, then 100, then more. They're bringing in their whole defense fleet, Commander Roberts reported. Over 200 ships now, more arriving every minute. Stone nodded calmly. Open a channel to all frequencies. The communications officer pressed some buttons. Channel open, Captain. Stone stood up straight. This is Captain Laura Stone of the Earth Defense Ship Titan. We've come to renegotiate humanity's position in the galaxy. The response was immediate. A hologram of High Counselor Gray appeared on the bridge. His 4 arms were trembling slightly. You have violated Council law, Gray said, trying to sound firm. Your species is confined to your solar system. Return immediately or what? Stone interrupted. You'll fire on us, like your defense platforms did. She nodded to Roberts. Show them what happened at the barrier. The Titan transmitted images of Council weapons fire simply vanishing into its shields. The Council chamber erupted in panic. Impossible, someone shouted. Their shields can't be that strong. Multiple ships targeting us, Roberts reported. They're preparing to fire. Stone sighed. I had hoped they would be smarter than this. Activate gravity control. Full bubble, minimal force. Let's give them a demonstration they can't ignore. Around the Titan, space itself seemed to bend. Every Council ship suddenly found itself unable to move, caught in an invisible grip that their sensors couldn't explain. What are you doing to our ships? Gray demanded. Showing you what 20 years of isolation taught us, Stone replied. You thought you were punishing humanity. Instead, you gave us time to focus, to innovate, to surpass everything you thought was possible. She walked closer to Gray's hologram. We learned how to manipulate gravity itself. We developed shields that don't just block attacks. They send them into quantum space. Our engines bend reality. And this ship, she gestured around her. This is just the first of its kind. The Council chamber had fallen silent. Even Gray seemed at a loss for words. We're releasing your ships now, Stone continued. Consider this a demonstration of restraint, not weakness. We could have built weapons. We could have come seeking revenge. Instead, we built this ship to show you what humanity can really do. The gravity field disappeared. Council ships drifted free, their crews still trying to understand what had happened to them. Captain, Roberts said quietly. They're powering down their weapons. All of them. Stone nodded. High Counselor Gray, 20 years ago you called humanity unpredictable and dangerous. You were half right. We are unpredictable. It's what makes us great. But we're not dangerous unless you force us to be. She paused, letting her words sink in. Now shall we discuss lifting the barrier? Or would you like another demonstration of what humans can achieve when you tell them something is impossible? Gray looked around his chamber, at the faces of species from across the galaxy. All of them had just watched their most powerful weapons and ships rendered useless by a single human vessel. The Council. Gray's voice wavered. The Council will convene immediately to discuss this matter. Excellent, Stone replied. We'll wait right here. Oh, and Counselor, you might want to hurry. This ship has a lot more surprises, and I'd hate to have to show you any of the interesting ones. As Gray's hologram disappeared, Stone looked out at the fleet of frozen Council ships. Humanity had just changed the balance of power in the galaxy, and they had done it not with violence, but with innovation and determination. The real negotiations were about to begin. The Council chamber looked exactly as it had 20 years ago. The same crystal dome, the same rising tiers of seats, the same 3 suns shining through the transparent ceiling. But today, something was very different. Captain Stone walked beside Ambassador James Miller, who had been called back for this historic moment. Miller's hair had turned white over the years, but his eyes were sharp and proud as they entered the chamber together. Behind them, the massive form of the Titan could be seen through the dome, floating in the sky like a dark guardian. High Counselor Gray sat in his elevated position, all 4 hands clasped together. The chamber was packed. Every Council species wanted to witness this meeting. I see you still keep the same decoration, Miller said, looking around. Though I must say, it feels different being here when you can't simply dismiss us. Gray's silver skin flickered with emotion. You have certainly made your point with that ship of yours. But surely you understand why we had concerns about humanity 20 years ago. Oh, we understand perfectly. Stone stepped forward. You saw a young species learning and growing too fast. You were afraid. So you did what afraid people often do. You tried to stop what you didn't understand. She activated a small device in her hand. A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber, showing Earth's technological achievements over the last 20 years. First, let's talk about energy. The hologram showed the Titan's fusion drive. We've learned to bend space itself. Your fastest ships take weeks to cross the galaxy. We can do it in days. The display changed. Medical technology. We've cured diseases your people still struggle with. Extended human lifespan by decades. Created treatments that could help every species in this chamber. Miller smiled as he saw the Council members leaning forward, their eyes fixed on the displays. Defense technology. Now the hologram showed the quantum shields, not just blocking attacks, but sending them into quantum space, perfectly clean energy conversion. And of course, Stone continued, gravity manipulation, something you said was impossible for at least another 1,000 years. Gray raised one of his hands. You've made your point, Captain. Humanity has advanced remarkably. But what are you asking for? Membership in the Council. Stone and Miller exchanged looks. Then Miller stepped forward, his voice strong and clear. No, he said, we don't want to join the Council. Not anymore. A murmur of surprise ran through the chamber. Instead, Miller continued, we propose a partnership, equal standing. The barrier comes down. Free trade. Exchange of knowledge. What we're willing to share, of course. And most importantly, recognition of Earth's independence and sovereignty in the galaxy. Or, Gray asked quietly. Stone smiled. No, or no threats. We could have come here with demands. Could have used the Titan to force your hand. But that's not who we are. You thought we were warlike. Look at what we built during our isolation. Not weapons of war, but tools of progress. She gestured at the hologram, which now showed medical facilities, clean energy plants, and advanced research centers. Everything I've shown you. That's just the beginning. Imagine what we could achieve together as partners instead of enemies. The council chamber was silent for a long moment. Then a blue-scaled being stood up, the same one who had argued against humanity 20 years ago. High Counselor, it said, I was wrong about humans before. I vote to accept their proposal. More voices joined in. More species standing, voting, agreeing. Gray looked around the chamber, then at the humans before him. It seems, he said slowly, that we made a serious mistake 20 years ago. One that, ironically, led to exactly the kind of advancement we never thought possible. He stood, raising all four arms. The Council accepts your proposal. The barrier will be brought down immediately. Earth will be recognized as a sovereign power in the galaxy. Miller nodded formally, but his eyes were shining. Stone kept her captain's composure, but allowed herself a small smile. They had done it. Not with threats, not with violence, but with progress and innovation. Humanity had proved itself in the greatest way possible, by advancing despite all obstacles. As they walked out of the chamber, Miller looked at Stone. Ready to make history again, Captain? Oh yes, she replied, looking up at the Titan. This is just the beginning. 6 months after the historic negotiation at Centauri Prime, Earth's orbital space had transformed completely. Where once there was isolation, now dozens of alien ships moved in careful traffic patterns around the planet. The Council's barrier was gone, leaving only open stars and endless possibilities. Captain Stone stood at the observation deck of Earth's new Space Command Center, watching the busy space lanes below. Trade ships from 20 different species moved alongside human vessels. In the distance, she could see the massive form of the Titan, now joined by 2 sister ships under construction. Quite a view, isn't it? Admiral Walker said, walking up beside her. Hard to believe this is the same solar system that was prison to us just 6 months ago. Stone nodded. The Council's latest report came in this morning. 17 species have already signed technology exchange agreements with us. They're particularly interested in our medical advances. And the quantum shield technology? Walker asked with a slight smile. Oh, they're desperate for that. Stone laughed. But as agreed, we're keeping some secrets to ourselves. Trust is good, but backup plans are better. Below them, a massive Council medical ship was docking at the new orbital hospital. Earth's advanced treatment centers had become famous across the galaxy, drawing patients from hundreds of worlds. Commander Roberts entered the observation deck, carrying a data tablet. Captain, Admiral, you'll want to see this. The first Joint Human Council research project just announced their results. He handed them the tablet. On it, they saw images of a new type of ship engine, a combination of human innovation and Council engineering that was more efficient than either design alone. Working together, Walker said softly. Who would have thought? The Council did us a favor in the end, Stone replied. Those 20 years of isolation. They forced us to think differently, to solve problems in new ways. We couldn't rely on anyone else's technology or ideas. We had to innovate. Through the window, they could see a group of alien scientists being escorted to the research wing. Many carried samples of their own technology, eager to collaborate with human engineers. Message from Ambassador Miller, Roberts announced, checking his communicator. The Council's education exchange program starts next week. 20,000 alien students arriving to study at Earth universities, and 15,000 human students heading to Council worlds. Walker smiled. And to think they once called us too unpredictable to join their community. We're still unpredictable, Stone said. That's our strength. We just help them understand that unpredictability doesn't mean dangerous. It means innovative, creative, different. A flash of light caught their attention. Outside, the Titan was powering up its engines for another patrol mission. The quantum shields rippled with their characteristic blue energy, still a source of wonder to Council observers. Director Reed's report from the Science Division. Roberts added, reading from his tablet. The Joint Gravity Manipulation Project is ahead of schedule. Turns out our impossible technology is helping solve problems across the galaxy. Stone watched as the Titan gracefully moved away from Earth, its massive form a reminder of how far humanity had come. We built that ship to show our strength, she said. But its real power wasn't in its weapons or shields. Oh, Walker raised an eyebrow. Its real power was what it represented. Humanity's ability to overcome any obstacle, to solve any problem, to achieve what others think is impossible. She turned to face them. The Council thought they were containing a threat. Instead, they gave us the push we needed to become something greater. Below them, more ships were arriving. Traders, diplomats, scientists, and explorers from across the galaxy. Earth had become a beacon of innovation, a symbol of what determination and creativity could achieve. New report from the Council, Roberts said, checking one final message. They're officially recognizing Earth as the fastest advancing civilization in recorded galactic history. Walker laughed. Not bad for a species they wanted to keep locked away. Stone smiled, watching the Titan disappear into the starfield. Humanity had faced isolation and emerged stronger. They had turned imprisonment into opportunity, fear into respect, and separation into partnership. The stars weren't just open to them now. They were partners in shaping the galaxy's future. And this was only the beginning. Well, Stone said, turning away from the window, we should get back to work. After all, we've got a whole galaxy of impossible things to achieve. The future stretched out before them, as endless as the stars themselves. And humanity was ready to face it, not as the outcasts they once were, but as innovators, partners, and pioneers of a new age in galactic history.